Of the Cleveland City Council, Monday, November the 14th. We have a very full agenda. We've already had a very busy morning. We are just returning from two ribbon cuttings. We had the ribbon cutting at Two Brothers Automotive at 10:30 this morning, a new business downtown in the historic area. And then we have had the ribbon cutting and dedication of the new Parker Street improvement in front of the Pi Center in conjunction with Lee University. And we're very excited to begin our 1 o'clock session with the historic Lady Raiders volleyball team. And I'm going to ask Councilman and Coach Hughes if he would please do the appropriate introductions.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor Brooks. We are happy to have the champions. And it's so significant that you're here because I talked with Coach McGowan, and she states this is the first ladies team to win a state championship. So hats off to you. Congratulations to you. We're glad to have, from the administrative office, we're glad to have Autumn O'Brien and also Hal Taylor. And then we have the principal, his first year in action, Mr. Bob Pritchard. And we have the athletic director, Al Morris. Raise your hand, Al. Bob, raise your hand back there. Kind of a newcomer. And then we have the two coaches, Amy McGowan and also Daniel Millsaps. Now, Amy always picks good people to help her. So I'm sure, Daniel, you provided a lot of aid for her during the contest. But Amy's always been a winner. She was a winner at Bradley High School. She's a winner at Clemson. And I want to tell a little story on Amy. When she was at Clemson, every year they have a shootout. They have a women's shootout and a men's shootout. A shootout means that they start on the corner, on the left-hand corner, and go around the arc. And I don't know how many times they shoot till they get to the other arc, but they move every time they shoot the ball. She won the ladies shootout. Then they had Amy against the men, a man. She won against the man. She won that national shootout, and we're really proud of Amy. The other thing I want to tell you about her, Amy had played on two championship teams in 1993 and 1994. She was most valuable player in both of those games at the state level. They won the state championship, and Amy was on that particular team. So we appreciate her expertise, and all you girls are here. Let's see, Miss Hurst, where are you? MVP, right? Okay. Your coach was MVP when she was in high school. So Mayor Brooks is going to make a presentation to you, a proclamation that the council has. And Amy, if you and Coach Millsaps would come up, please.
Ladies, why don't you join us? This is your proclamation. We can just line up over here.
Yeah, that's good.
They don't want to see me, they want to see you all. We certainly are proud of you, as Councilman Hughes talked about, and the historic legacy not only of your coaching staff, but what your team now represents the city of Cleveland around the world. So, on behalf of the City Council, the Cleveland High School Lady Raiders volleyball proclamation, whereas the Cleveland Lady Raider volleyball team made history this season by winning the first state championship in program history. Make sure I got this right. Whereas the Lady Raiders not only were the first state title in a female team sport in the history of Cleveland High School with your 49-5 record, you also set a volleyball program record and a school record for the most wins by any team in a single season in Cleveland High School history. That's fantastic. That's not in the proclamation, that's just. Whereas the Lady Raiders rank number 12 in the state of Tennessee by Mass Preps. And whereas in the Battle of the Sun Sphere, you finished 7-0 and beat teams with a combined 48 state titles. At the Tournament of Champions in Guntersville, Alabama, you defeated nationally ranked Pope Georgia in the final. Won district, region, and sectional and state champions with a perfect 9-0 record while going 27-0 in all sets. It's fantastic. I enjoy this as much as y'all do. And whereas congratulations to key players, and raise your hand so we can see you. Kinsley McGowan, District Player of the Year and Region Tournament MVP. Lauren Hurst, District Tournament MVP. And Addison Hurst, State Tournament MVP. Now therefore, Kevin Brooks, Mayor of the City of Cleveland, on behalf of the entire Cleveland City Council, do hereby proclaim today, Monday, November 14th, as Cleveland High School Lady Raiders Volleyball Team Day in Cleveland, Tennessee. And we encourage all of our citizens to congratulate this fine group of young ladies, Principal Bob Pritchard, Athletic Director Al Morris, and Coach Amy McGowan on this incredible and historic achievement. Congratulations, Lady Raiders. It's your day. Where's Bob? Can we excuse them for the rest of the day? It's their day. They have to go down there.
You got any course test coming up?
Okay. Well, congratulations. Hey, council, why don't we remain standing and then we'll get a picture. Coach, this is for you, suitable for framing.
Yeah, you want to get right here.
Sure, sure.
Let's just do it how we like when we usually do.
Oh, our championship, like how we do
Like
it all.
how everything.
You want to hold this?
Yeah, 'cause you're number one in the world. Go Raiders. One more. Go Banner. Thank you.
And then one more for Clarion.
Go Flames. All right. Congratulations, ladies.
See you, Al. Bye, Bob.
See y'all.
Bye, Daniel. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Online, I mean.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Hughes, for making that presentation possible and for that great introductory, those comments. Now on the agenda is a request from Councilman May. I believe, Mr. Fivas, we have a celebratory video of the Sergeant Paul Huff era.
Well, seeing that Friday was Veterans Day, I think we wanted to reflect on the life of Paul Huff. And this will gives us a little background of who he is and why we have our major band named after him.
Along comes through temptations and frustrations on you, right? We'll give Dr. Bragg a call. His weight loss plan works. Plus, he's there for encouragement and guidance through your weight loss journey. If you're considering weight loss, give him a call today.
In 1944, Paul Huff risked life and limb to find enemies on a foreign beachhead, thousands of miles from home. Months later, he'd be honored with the Congressional Medal of Honor, just miles from where he laid his life on the line.
WBLT has come to show the brave stories of Medal of Honor recipients. Tonight, Will Puckett tells us about a man who acted above and beyond at Call of Duty.
To the family of Paul Huff, he was just a man who liked to work on things.
He liked old cars, and we always had an old car he worked on.
But to others, especially within circles of military men and women, he's one of the highest decorated members of the United States Armed Forces. A Medal of Honor recipient for his actions in World War II.
I didn't realize I hadn't read it in ages.
Huff was born in Cleveland, Tennessee in 1918. Known around his hometown as Killer, thanks to his hunting prowess. Huff was drafted to serve in the Second World War. An unassuming man, not someone who sought to be recognized, and certainly not one to boast he held the nation's highest military honor.
No, never. Nobody would know it if they didn't know him, you know. That he had it.
His wife, Betty, is now remembering her husband of nearly 50 years, almost 3 decades after his death. She often goes back to read about his heroics in Italy, not hearing it often from his pal.
No, he never talked about things like that. I mean, he was just a plain person, and everybody loved him because he never let on like anything, he was different from anybody. He was just plain old.
Those heroics, Huff and a group of other soldiers one February day were tasked with finding where enemy troops were hiding. The land in Italy, vast with rolling hills. Dean Huff and his fellow service members uncovered the enlisted army men, risking his life, taking bullets from all directions. Finding where 125 Axis troops were camping, his wife, believing someone was watching out for him.
I don't know how he came out alive. Well, Kurt told me, he said he was blessed, he was brave, and just very fortunate not to have been wounded or killed.
Corporal Huff, taking bullets through his Army-issued helmet.
It said the bullet went in his helmet and round and round and cut his hair off. Not all of it, but so he had black curly hair. He was blessed, as person said.
To be awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, one must act with conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty. Corporal Huff doing just that on an Italian beachhead in 1944.
He just wanted to be who he was and not bother with anybody. He just followed. That's all.
This Medal of Honor is brought to you by the Carson Author and Cleveland Foundation.
And is your relative?
Huff died in 1994 at 76 years old. He's buried in his
Do you mind if I say that?
Cleveland, Tennessee.
Do you mind if I say that? Yeah, you know, please. I'm thankful that Mr. Fivas found that for us to show in honor of not only Veterans Day this past Friday, but as the uncle of our councilman and colleague, David May. And so it's wonderful that we have a direct personal connection to Paul Huff right here with us. And I'm one of those guys, councilman, that sort of grew up here in Cleveland hearing about the heroics of this great man that has...
And Mayor, one thing about my uncle, it showed him with President Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that President Kennedy had a banquet for the Medal of Honor winners, all of them that was alive. And I remember family being together watching it on TV. And as it came down and it showed his name, it said Cleveland, Tennessee. It was always Cleveland, Tennessee, anytime that Paul talked about. And he always lived right outside of Fort Campbell because he was in the 101st for 30 plus years. And I know when he passed, he could have, of course, been buried in Arlington, but he decided, he had decided and had told Betty that he wanted to come back to Cleveland, which he did. And so he was a very unique person, and I'm proud to be kin to him. But I'm proud that we named one of our major roads after Paul. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Fivas, thank you for that opportunity to honor Sergeant Huff, and you are next on the agenda.
Sure was a little bit more exciting in here when we had all the champions here. It's a little quiet now. Want to begin today's meeting, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, to talk about the Civitan Inclusive Park. We've talked about it probably for a while about renovating that. And we've been waiting to get the Mosby Park renovations done, and we're ready to start on the process. That when we get that done, we would begin this process, but we have to order some things, so we wanted to give the council the opportunity to see the design, have any comments or feedback. We've been working with the Civitan Club. Civitan Club deserves an awful lot of credit. They're the real heroes that brought the idea of having the inclusive-only park for families with disabilities. And they've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in that facility, and we want to build on that legacy, working with them to do that. And we wanted to show you some of the cool designs that we have today. Wanted to have Brian Turner, who you know, is that his family is has someone with disabilities, but also works at Stewart Elementary School, so they are very close and with that facility. And I think this is a passionate project for Brian, and he's going to lay it out. And believe me, if there's any things that changes, we're happy to have the conversation about those. And we also have some Civitan representatives that can speak after Brian's done. And with that, I will turn it over unless there's any questions.
Hey, good afternoon. So, like Keith mentioned, Civitan Park is next to Stewart School, and it is the city's inclusive park. So we wanted to take a look at some of the current conditions and then some of the things that we're talking about doing over there. So there is some of the poured in place solid surfacing out there, but it has met its life span. As you can see in some of the pictures, it's starting to peel up underneath the slides. It's a bit of a trip hazard. We also, right now, we have some poured in place mixed with some of the loose rubber and mulch, and I think that loose rubber mulch has been getting on the poured in place and scuffing it up and making it maybe kind of speed up its deterioration. So that's one of the things we want to look at improving. You also see that cone that's out there. We had a piece of equipment break, and that's what the cone is covering up. There's a metal stake that's coming up out of the ground, so we're going to have to get something in there to clip that out. Right now it's a safety hazard. So one of the things that we've been doing with all of our new parks is coming up with a theme, making a cohesive feel, an overall design. A lot of the backbone has already been put in place by Civitan, and we're thankful for that, but we want to bring it up and take it to that next level. So we're looking at a zoo animal theme. That's not something that we currently have right now, and I'll show you some pictures of the zoo animals and things in a minute. But this kind of gives you an overall layout. Everything in the sidewalk island there would be colorful new poured in place to replace that existing. That's a good solid surface so that if you're in a wheelchair, if you're on crutches or anything like that, and you have issues with the loose surfacing, that entire area will be solid surface now. All of the new equipment, which we already obtained last year, will be installed, and it will be along an accessible pathway, so you can get any of the equipment, no matter what your abilities are. So, there's been a lot of updates in the equipment since the original equipment was put in, and one of the things, that's improved with new playground equipment is there are now, pieces that do not require transfer out of a wheelchair. So we don't have anything like that right now in the city, but we have it now, and it's gonna be coming in to the new, additions we have. So one of those you can see up here on the right is the inclusive, merry-go-round, and it allows for a wheelchair to go onto it without having to transfer, or, kids can stand on it, everyone can play together on it. The other thing we're looking at is, one of the things at Deer Park is the expression swings that were added where an adult can swing with their child. They actually make those now with the adaptive seats that have a harness for kids who need additional support. So we'll be adding one of those out at this playground as well. The other thing is the zip line at Deer Park was a big hit. They have a dual zip line now that allows for a typical seat as well as a supportive seat. So kids of all abilities can play on the zip line together and can race each other. And we also have a rocking raft, which allows for a wheelchair to roll right onto it without transfer, but it also has seats, so that all kids can play together on the equipment. And just a lot of good updates that will really flesh out what's already begun out there.
I can see the mayor doing that for,
100%, 100% yes, 100% yes.
You're pretty good about jumping fences, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm real
So
good
I
at that.
mentioned the zoo animal theme. To kind of bring it all together, there are these pretty lifelike animals that we're looking to add out there. I think we have a total of 8 planned right now. This is a couple of them that are examples, so you'll be able to walk right up to them, get your picture with them, look at it. We'll have the hippo in the boarding place, so he looks like he's in the water, he's kind of sunken in. But then the highlight will be the 12-foot tall giraffe that should be visible from pretty much anywhere out on the playground. It's a
That's neat.
really neat piece.
Yeah.
And then just to bring you back so you can see, those are the animals and kind of where we're looking at scattering them throughout the park. So we have a different area for each one. Yeah, right now we're looking at a panda, a giraffe, a lion cub, a hippo, a zebra, a kangaroo, tiger cub, and elephant.
Awesome.
So a mixture of things.
how strong are those?
Yeah, so these are the glass fiber reinforced concrete. It's the same stuff like we have out at all of our playgrounds now, at Deer Park, out at Mosby. It's that pretty heavy duty stuff, so it should be very sturdy.
Brian, I can't speak for the whole council, but this is thrilling. My grandchildren have already named, obviously Deer Park is Deer Park. They call the Blythe Park Turtle Park, I think because of the turtle
Right.
that's out there. So the fact that we're adding a zoo park, as the uncle of a niece who's wheelchair necessity with osteoimperfecta, brittle bone disease, this is the only park that she can attend in Cleveland. And it's thrilling that you're redoing it and making it even better. We have experienced the different levels of quality in the surfaces, and the fact that she is in a wheelchair and there's some places she just can't get to. So this is a great addition to the city of Cleveland. The park system, Stewart, I think it's a great improvement. Other comments from the council? Ms. Marcia?
That's great.
I love the animal thing. And will the children actually be able to get on those?
Yeah, some of them are small enough that they'll able, that probably won't be up at the top of the giraffe, but some of the smaller pieces, yeah, they can get on, yeah.
Watch for me in a picture of the hippo, Marcia. That's gonna happen.
That's a fantastic.
And what kind of fencing do you think you'll have around there?
Yeah, so, that line around the playground shows kind of what we're thinking about putting a fence. That's what we've been doing as we build our parks out, is, having a fence to define the boundaries of the area. And we're looking at something that has a zoo feel to it, maybe some rope type, or some bamboo, something like that kind of fits the zoo theme. Still looking at options.
Brian, and city staff, Joe. I love the theme, the zoo park, and what a great addition to the city of Cleveland, to all kids, but also kids that have special needs and their families can get out and enjoy and be a part, and do that independent thing a lot. So my hats, I'm fully supportive of this. So.
Mayor, really, all this that we do, quality of life. And, you know, this board is really bought in to Greenway, the park systems, and all that quality of life. You know, you attract good people. You don't just take care of good people, you attract good people to the community. And I'm very proud of what the city does. So, thank you.
Good work.
Brian, help me get my bearings. Where is the new pavilion?
So the new pavilion is that blue box up at the top.
Okay.
And that was provided by Civitan earlier this year, maybe late last year, I can't remember. We're gonna add some picnic tables and that kind of thing to that. I believe we have
Mr. Cummings.
Mr. Cummings here. Would you like to say anything?
No, just, we're happy to see this. We thought it was pretty good, but now it's gonna be better.
Yeah, it is.
You know, we think in the last, maybe 30,000 feet, just in the last 3 years, Blythe Oldfield, Avery Johnson, Deer Park, Mosby Park, Greenway extensions of almost a mile, and now the Civitan. That shows, that's impressive. I mean, that shows that it's important to us and the staff.
It is.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just another step.
Yeah, it is.
Thank Joe, thank you, Patty, staff, for that, making it happen, Brian.
You know, let's not forget the Jim Sharp Park too. There's another part that's going to enhance our city quality of life.
So one important thing, out of many, is that Deer Park is so heavily used, is that we wanted to create a space that we can try to have, you know, that families have to argue about which park they wanna go to.
Yeah.
You know, you wanna go to the zoo, or you wanna go to the backyard experience. And, I would expect, this to be as high quality finish as like, Deer Park. I think it's gonna have a pretty special feel, and I don't know if you touched on this, is interaction of families that have disabilities and also have kids that, don't have those. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that, you know, any good park that's designed to be inclusive means it's inclusive for all. So it's not a question of if this park is only for kids with disabilities or it's only for typical children, but it's a place for all, you know, children of all abilities to play together. That's a typical family structure. That's, you know, that's the world we live in. That's everybody is together, not separated out. So that's one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we incorporated into how this park functions. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fivas, back to you.
Yeah, I want to add one thing is Mr. Cummings is being understated, but they've really put their blood, sweat, and tears into this facility, and you know, for many years when we weren't investing, you guys built, you know, state-of-the-art equipment. You have new restrooms that you guys constructed, a couple pavilions that you guys have literally went out on the street and raised the money and made an investment, and we just appreciate it. And look forward to celebrating that. On your agenda, on the consent agenda, you do have an item that would allow us to start funding this. And if you approve that, then that will allow us to start ordering the things and getting things in place. We hope to have this delivered next spring, so that will be exciting. So, if there's more questions, I'm going to move on. Okay. The next item, Councilman Estes, do you want to wait until the end and have a conversation, or do you want to do it now?
Can we do it now? I've got to step out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Between meetings, if that's, I don't have much to say. I'd like to my colleagues too.
And if you need more information, we're happy to
Yeah.
look at more information.
I don't know if you if anybody wants to jump in, or any thoughts from the last couple of weeks about the BZA and some of my comments. I think, I was watching, Mix 104.1 and seeing how I kind of fumbled through that. I'm trying to be much more clear today on what I say. Starting from the beginning, the cryptocurrency mining was, coming before the BZA, might have been the most dramatic kind of an event, something that would radically change Cleveland or Bradley County drastically, if we didn't get out in front of it. I know that's part of our discussion today on another issue. And I was thinking about state law, what's the role of the planning commission in this, and then how, if someone doesn't like what happens at the planning commission in terms of zoning, or in terms of, let's say, variance or conditional uses that are denied, they go to the BZA, and there's no, let's say that the BZA turns someone down, they can go to circuit court. Is that right, Mr. Kimball? Is it circuit court?
It's typically Chancery.
Chancery court, I'm sorry. So they can go to Chancery court. But if the BZA rules against the city, all right, the city has no recourse. Their judicial power is absolute, and it's over. So we have 5 people that are appointed by us. You have a planning commission that's appointed by the mayor with the exception of 1 spot. And that's not untypical across Tennessee. So we have these 2 bodies that are at odds. Like, it was funny looking into this from Collierville to Kingsport. A lot of the BZA stuff is very similar, and it's got MTAS fingerprints all over it. It's written very similarly in each code of the municipalities. Collegedale, the mayor was upset or something. The mayor wanted control of that, so they just did away, since the mayor appointed all the planning commission, they did away with the BZA. And so the planning commission then was the appeals of their own decision, a smaller group. And so even the structure is of appointees is kind of a little dubious and not necessarily clear. It's clear, it's not clean in terms of representing all parties involved or everybody having a say. And we're set up the same way. The BZA can override the building inspector, the fire inspector, certainly codes, zoning regs, variances, gives conditional uses, the airport authority. And looking at our charter mentions the BZA just a couple of times, but in our ordinances, I think they were mentioned 68 times in our ordinances when I hit Control F and search through there. They have a lot of say, and that's fine, and they protect the citizens, or they, for silly things. But I'm not sure in the long term there's anyone in this setup that we have that truly protects the city or the citizens. There's not a council member on this. It doesn't come before us. We can be overridden. Our ordinances can be overridden by this group. I don't have an answer. The Tennessee code is not like, let's say, Ohio or Georgia or even Alabama. And so it's somewhat limited in what kind of structure we can set up and handling appeals that makes it fair for all involved. I do think it has been different on the planning commission, and I assume the BZA in the last year, last few months. Robert has very specific. There's much more information for us, all right, to make good decisions. I don't know. I don't think there's anything. I'm sure people's oxes have been gored by the BZA or by us on the planning commission, but I haven't had a lot of blowback. I don't know about you, but I haven't. But I do have concern about this body. I don't have an answer. I appreciate staff giving me wherever Joe ran off to. Joe and John, Robert gave me a lot of good stuff and some direction, things to read. Circling back, this is my point. I am concerned that you have a judicial body of appointed people who are hearing appeals at the odds.
Bill, are you concerned about things that they've done or things they may do in the future?
It's the future. The cryptocurrency thing really bothered me. I said, well, how could they appeal this? you know, our decision here, because I was pushing for something much stronger than what we brought on the, what we're voting on today. I was pushing for something much stronger. And then we talked about, we probably spent 45 minutes on it. We talked about, okay, then where's the appeals, and it goes to the BZA. And I mean, so it was shocking to me that the BZA could override what we were doing at the at Planning Commission, or what we had as an ordinance. And there's nothing we can do about it. That is the end of our appellates, our appellate possibilities, appealing possibilities. Whereas if the BZA were to turn a private citizen down, they certainly can go to Chancery Court. But we can't, and so we have that
And, you know,
gives me
I
pause.
personally think the BZA board as a board that if you've got a minor mistake, a minor problem, that instead of having a major, I guess, a homeowner or individual, instead of having some major ordeal they have to go through, they've got this body that can,
No, I'm very familiar with what they do.
yeah,
Like,
eliminate
developers-
that problem.
Builders
And-
often come before them for that very reason.
Yeah.
And it's very, yeah, because a lot of things don't necessarily fit into CH or R2 or cluster developments. Got it. You don't have to go 50 miles to find municipalities that absolutely hate the BZA because they turn everything down, or people like builders and all, they love the BZA because they approve everything. And there's no recourse for certain municipalities in that. I think ours has operated, I think certainly, I've been to maybe 3 or 4 BZA meetings. And I think for the neighborhood, only one time was I unimpressed. But I did not like the decision. But that's not why I'm here. This really is about, they have authority and there's no recourse for us. So,
and you know, I feel like that we've appointed quality people on the BZA board.
Okay.
And
well, it's not about the people. Good people make things work. Robert makes things work. Joe makes things work. Good people make systems work. This is about a system that gives me pause. And I didn't really know it until being part of the Planning Commission. I don't have an answer, David.
I don't either.
I don't have an answer, but I would like to ask, whether this requires a motion or not, for this body to ask the Planning Commission to discuss it and look into it. Many BZAs are made up of planning commissions. Many BZAs are made up of a planning commission with some of those.
When you do that, you're almost policing yourself.
Agreed, it's not the best, Tennessee will not allow certain common sense options, right?
Right.
And so we're somewhat limited in that. And I think who we put on there is very important, and that we pay attention. I do think, again, I've said, seeing what Robert's been presenting and those things, the Planning Commission is changing drastically. It's getting more efficient and all, but there's got to be a better way than what we have. And there needs to be some type of appellate decision or someone that's elected on these kinds of decisions. These are not little decisions about, oh, I need an extra, well, it is. 3-4 feet here, 3-4 feet there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that, but it's also, there's some big things that have come up as I was going over the last 16 years, paying attention in my mind, that tough to swallow, you know? And so there's gotta be a better process. That's what gives me concern. The only suggestion, I don't have an answer. I don't think staff had an answer. I didn't press Joe, but he gave me different things to read. There's not really something nice and clean. There's no magic bullet here, but I do think it's worth talking about, and maybe the best place I think to talk about it is the Planning Commission. I don't know if that would take I can ask to be put on the agenda down there, or we could as a body, or maybe you guys don't ever want to talk about it again. But I do think we need to think long and hard about working with staff in the future, you know, on.
But, I mean, you're talking about a major problem that could be, that may never be.
I'm talking about setting up structures in place for good governance. And there is a problem that the city has no recourse of appeal. That's a structural problem in our system.
Bill, is that by design and state law that the city has no recourse?
They use the word judicial, and I'd have to defer to John or Robert or Joe.
So your planning body, your beer board, your EZA, they're all administrative bodies. The way you review the decision of an administrative body in Tennessee is through what's called a petition for writ of certiorari. It's a paper review by a court to see whether the action was arbitrary, capricious, illegal, supported by material evidence, that type of thing. So that's just the way Tennessee reviews administrative decisions. That's just how it's done. It's always been. So it's not unique from the BZA. It wouldn't be unique from the planning commission. You don't get appeals from the planning commission items where that's within their purview. What you do have is zoning decisions or legislative decisions. Y'all make those decisions, and the planning commission is just the recommending body in that instance, okay? That's not an appeal. But if, for instance, a plat was turned down and somebody wanted to have a review, they wouldn't bring that to y'all, they would bring that for an administrative review to a court, just similar to the way someone would appeal denial by the BZA.
Councilman McKenzie?
What about appointing a council person on it, like you did on the planning commission? That would be there too, I mean, is that a possibility?
I don't know if that's best or not. Certainly, I would guess it's a possibility, because this body.
Structure of the planning commission is set up in the state statute. There's always one legislative member on it, and then you have a mayor's designee, and then the other 7 are appointed by the mayor. So it's really 8 appointments by the mayor and 1 by the legislative body. Planning commission, you appoint people. State statute says it's a legislative decision. There's no prohibition on who you appoint to that. You can appoint one of your own members or more, for that matter. The only policy I know of that you have about appointments is you have that residency policy you try to follow, where people are residents of the city to be on the board or commission.
When you define that resident, do you have to be like a resident living in the city?
The policy actually says you have to be a resident of the city or eligible to vote in a city election by virtue of property rights voting. That's a summary of what it says. It says a lot of other stuff.
Councilman Estes, I heard a question that you posed. Does this need to be added to this council agenda for a vote at 3?
I can certainly talk about it at planning commission without this. If this body thinks it's important for us to look at, or if this body thinks, we're fine. I got concerns, but I'm one voice.
Well, Bill, I'm all about checks and balances. I think that we all need it in our private lives and political lives and otherwise. But I'm always concerned that at some point we're over political to the point that I'm always thinking about this little guy that his whole world is involved in being 2 feet too close to setback, and his loan won't go through, and he's got a track to go on right now, BCA board, that they give him a variance, and his life goes on.
I see those every month, right? If we turn something down or something is negotiated in a PUD, I see that every month now after taking your seat.
Yeah.
I talked to a developer yesterday. I've learned my uptick on being on the planning commission is so much greater than becoming a council member. I've had to learn so much more to know exactly what I'm doing.
There's a lot involved.
It is
Yeah.
a lot more. This gives me pause. And exactly the things they vote on, 90% of them, 100% of them, they're small little things.
Yeah.
The city needs some type of recourse to protect the citizens. It's in my mind.
I mean, what you're talking about with BZA board would really go all out. I guess, give a variance on zoning, what you're talking about.
Well, they can, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
they do that and they do conditional uses.
Yeah, but it's
But
just
they
never.
do, they have more than that, I mean, they can do fire codes,
Yeah.
fire inspectors, building
Yeah.
inspectors, airport authority, I mean, it's just, in our ordinances, they've got
Yeah,
final say on a lot of areas.
but yeah, I probably don't agree with 100% of what they do, but I have not really seen any major thing that they've done that has really affected this body or the citizens, in Cleveland. And I know where you're
I've
going.
appreciated the things that they've done, most of the,
Yeah,
but again, when someone gets their ox board, who do they call one up,
yeah, yeah,
and everybody, when you have up or down, some of those oxes getting bored
yeah.
on those decisions.
Yeah.
So it's not about that, it's not about the quality of the people. This is about a structure and a process. And so I hear you wholeheartedly. Is it worth looking at if we've got the right, Yeah, I agree, Ken.
Yeah. But, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, and I know where you're coming from, but thinking that things that they could do, that they never would do.
Well, I didn't have to go very deep on Google pages to find disasters from other municipalities.
Yeah.
Tennessee municipalities, like unmitigated
No, I'm
disasters.
sure you can find them all
You don't
over
have to
the
go
state.
many pages, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, you do that, you start going on these rabbit trails, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, I just think this is something that would make the city better. But I don't know what it is, I don't have it. And it's something maybe the planning commission can look at and just bring back nothing. If there's not a better option on this. Hey, I know we've got a lot of other things to do. If nobody else wants to talk about it other than Dave now, we can do something else. Mayor?
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments, questions? Mr. Fivas, back to you.
Thank you very much. We are probably getting to that time of year that we need to start talking about a strategic planning session on looking at what the priorities of the city council are. We're looking at hopefully potentially doing it before January. Maybe November 28th, maybe the first meeting in December. We'll get with everyone to see if there's a time. I mean, we're thinking about doing something at 9 to 11 or something like there, and I don't want you to pull all your calendars out, but does anyone object to that as long as we can get everyone to be able to attend one of those?
Well, that'd be all day, are you talking?
No, probably just a couple hours, and then you'll have a council meeting after that. But just, I mean, we have a lot of things in the queue right now, but if there's new ideas.
He said 9 to
that we'll
11.
talk about.
9 to 11,
Yeah.
and meet at 1.
Yeah. Maybe 10 to, probably start at 10 and have
Yeah.
lunch and then have a regular meeting. So we'll get with everyone. Everyone will have an opportunity, if there's items you want to discuss or get information, that we'll start putting that together.
You had me at lunch.
And with that, one of the things that we'll discuss is our Build Our Future initiative, which is the program on many of our projects that we have coming up. And that would be one thing, as you see there, that we need to start talking about. Probably one of the more pressing needs that we have right now is employee recruitment. Just like many people across every sector is having a difficult time recruiting employees. We've run into that from our lower level positions to our higher level positions, where we would normally in the past be able to put out applications and get applications, if not 100, and 20 of them be really good and have to decide. We're having difficulty getting, you know, 1 or 2 applications. You know, we had a transportation planner position that I think we've gotten 2 applications on. And we're taking a serious look at that. And of course, probably the one that you see on the news the most is our police officers and being competitive. One of the things we've identified in several positions, including the police officers, that our starting salaries are lower than even what they were, our starting salaries are not competitive with what they were even a couple of years ago. They're not, because the market has changed. And I wanted to let you know that and I've talked to pretty much all of you about that, is that we're working with our department heads to look at that and how to address that. And
You know, Joe, we talk, every time we do a comp study, we talk about maintaining it, keeping it up to date, but it seems like it never happens, you know, that we still end up behind on some jobs, and
I think our comp studies, I think we're fine as far as employees that are in the system, and I think the council deserves a tremendous amount of credit for moving, doing the 3.5% to the 9 straight years that we've been able to do that. So I think the people in the system, it's a lot of the newer recruitment that, you know, for example, Chattanooga was always historically lower than us in pay for police officers, and they did their tax increase and they went over us by $4,000 or $5,000, and we're starting to see some of that on how it works within our system. My goal in bringing it up is just to start the conversation. We're going to bring some information on what that means on across the board. You know, is it just the salary, starting out salaries? Is it salaries, as you were saying, throughout our system? Is it complex, and then you look at different professions or there? Is what we're seeing is across the board, we aren't being able to recruit as aggressively as what we want to. So I'm not looking for any feedback at this time, but my guess, as soon as the next meeting is as you've seen some other agencies have a difficult time in retaining and attracting talent, that we can't probably sit around and watch. We're going to bring a proposal on how to fix some of the things that we have, and you'll know about it beforehand. You're not going to be surprised by it. We've talked already in some detail on a lot of that, but I'm just letting you know is that we're getting very concerned about that, and I think that we need to assess what that is, and we'll be in touch with that. And if there's any questions, certainly call me and we can keep on talking it through, but that looking at the market with inflation, other reasons that it's shifted underneath us as we do our business, and are we in a position that we have to react? We probably think that we are, and we're working trying to find out what exactly that reaction is. So, and we only have a few of you here, Dale and Dawn here, but if you have questions, I'm happy to go through a lot of that. Talking about issues, this is actually a good issue. The Christmas bonus has historically been $100 grossed up. We've looked at that, and for many different reasons, that want to have a conversation with the council about this year, moving that bonus up, at least maybe for this year, and then we can reevaluate at budget time to see what we want to do. What we're proposing is to do something in the neighborhood of $25, maybe $50 additional to what we have now. Sean brought this to my attention that he had some people talking about historically that hasn't moved in a long time, and just wanted to get any feedback that anyone here would have on that item.
Is there a plan? I mean, do you have a target for us?
And what's the impact?
Yeah.
No, not now, but off the record, I like to know what the impact is.
Yeah, I mean, if you do, if you raise it $50, impact is probably somewhere, it's probably about $15,000 for full-time employees, and people who qualify. If you did 25, it's obviously half.
Yeah. So, I'm assuming we'll need to vote on that? Or,
Yeah, we would at least, we need to vote and probably amend the budget, don't you think, Sean?
Yeah, we just need to get that line item.
And Mr. Fivers, if I recall, in the past, there had been historically, around the holiday season, gift cards or things given out. In lieu of that, because that's no longer happening, we could increase the bonus structure.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily why we're doing it, but in the past, IRS has conditions that dissuade giving gift cards because they shouldn't be taxable income, and that makes it kind of question. And we've stopped that practice, so that certainly some people that would have gotten a gift card in the past for the last several years have not gotten them.
but could we not increase it $50?
We could.
I would support
I mean, I'm thinking,
You think we can do that?
I'm
Sean?
thinking on,
So we
what
can,
does it buy?
I can add that to new business, item D by Councilman May at 3 o'clock, and we can just vote on it.
Yeah, I would,
They get to fill their tank up all the way instead of half the way now, if we give them that bonus, one time.
yeah, but, and we have great employees. I mean, it's amazing, just the ribbon cutting that we did today, what, we're doing in-house now, and how much money it's saving, taxpayers and giving us more money to do other projects, so,
There's no question they deserve it.
yeah,
Does it require a vote at 3 o'clock, Joe?
yeah,
Okay, so we'll add that as new business item D for David May, and then we'll bring that up at 3.
But Mayor, one thing too, Joe, if we do this, I would consider not going back and renegotiate, go from here forward, is to keep the same status quo. I would prefer that.
Every year it's in your budget, and so it is, but we'll take the messages that you want us to plug in that number the next time.
Yeah, just plug it in next time too, on that part, I would ask.
Moving on, and here's some more good news. We talked to the developers at the Sand Mill. They'll be wrapping things up here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. They have established a grand opening time, and that is Monday, January 9th at noon. So that would be right before our council meeting. And they'll give tours and we hope to have partner with Main Street and have some Main Street participants there, and it should be inside and well attended, so that will be an exciting day. And this is probably one of the more important items, Whirlpool redevelopment plan. We have mapped out plan for the downtown, including some of the whirlpool area. There's another process that you can take that plan and it makes it a certified redevelopment plan, and you can use many of the tools that are available for blighted property. One of the things that will start probably in December is on that process. It requires some public meetings, some notification of some of the property owners, and working towards getting some of these whirlpool blighted properties cleaned up and moving in the right direction. We did some research. If you don't have the redevelopment plan going through the right process, then you don't have the special tools that you can use that with. So we'll be talking more about that probably at our strategic planning meeting, but just to let you know that that conversation is out there on getting much more serious with that. And that is, oh, two more things. One is that want to give a lot of credit to Chief Gibson, that we've been able to hire another co-responder that are out working hand in hand with our officers, working with people that have incapacitated mental issues that need counseling help and working through the system, is that we've been able to got authorized to hire a second position, because we had the one, and we're gonna hire a second one.
Yeah, the volunteer health, has to find that second one. It's kind of, they're still working out the bugs on it, but they will be assigned to the police department. The catch is, we have to assign a police officer to them. Nathan Hartwig happens to be our CIT officer that is assigned to a co-responder. As you can see, he's got additional duties as well as that, so, that becomes a challenge because we have to assign someone to them. But volunteer health is working on the second co-responder, locating, finding one. And then, the first co-responder that we had, that got extended to 2025. So it was always supposed to be a 21-month pilot program, but it's been extended to 2025.
Chief, can you elaborate a little bit, just shortly, real quick, on how that's impacted your police department, how that's helped the police department, and what?
Well, it's up to the community, it's not just the police department, but, one of the biggest aspects of it is it identifies people in mental crisis. It sends a team out there to deal with that individual. It gets them into facilities and resources, gives them resources to help them through that crisis. So that's the biggest impact. But also has an impact on our patrol officers, freeing them up from those calls. This is not the intention of it, but it also frees up EMS from having to respond out there to those calls, because our team pretty much takes the initiative on those. And so we have the stats of, the last stats I've seen, and there are probably more, but they've had 64 calls where they went out and had an impact on the jails, not taking people to jail, get an alternative to go to a healthcare facility or something to that effect. Free up EMS time, also free up our patrol officers' time, but also identify some resources for the individuals that are in crisis that actually helps them work and get them out of that situation that they're in. Not always successful, but it's not for lack of effort.
Well, in your words, it's been successful in the impact it's been in our community and for your staff too. You helped out quite a bit, right?
Yeah, it's been just the time that it's taken off our regular patrol officers and getting them back on other calls is tremendous. It's been worth that, just that part of it.
Thank you, Chief.
I actually have one more. The Carolina Pond project, we thought that was gonna start under construction in December. There's a conversation going on with the Army Corps and the contractor that has the bid, and they would like to start in the spring, March, and we think that that's too late. We've expressed our frustration with the Army Corps, and with that is that we sooner than that. That's an important project, but,
That's when it starts raining.
Yeah.
It's gonna hold it
Yeah.
up even longer.
I mean, why did they want to postpone it? Did they have any kind of reasoning, or was y'all in the meetings, or?
Right now, they're just saying, you know, because of the cold and the weather, they wanted to wait till spring. And the Army Corps gives such a long time to finish construction, that it sounds like they didn't want to start and then finish early. They're taking that time. They know it's a, say, 8-month project, so they're waiting a couple months before they actually start.
so they have another project.
They have another project for the
Yeah.
We're have reached out to the Army Corps to say, no, we please make them start sooner, so we'll see how that goes.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I don't have any other items.
Thank you, Mr. Fivas. Any questions for Mr. Fivas on the city manager report? Seeing none, we'll go straight to the review of our 3 o'clock agenda.
At 3 o'clock, we'll have a special presentation, the swearing in of 5 new officers with the Cleveland Police Department. Are these the ones that went through training up in Nashville?
They went to training at different places, some of them were coming post certified already.
Okay.
So,
So it's all of them.
yeah, these are, some of it were hired in 2021, and some were hired this year.
Thank you. We have 3 public hearings. The first public hearing, we'll hear public comments on request by property owner rezone 0.23 acres from IH to CBD for property located at 630 Montgomery Avenue. It was approved 9-0 by the Planning Commission. Another public hearing on item B is to hear a request by property to rezone 16.5 acres from CH to PUD 43 for property located at 3900 Atkinson Drive. The design is in your packet. This is a full-service apartment complex with a pool and a clubhouse, and I believe they're also doing improvements on the street on Atkinson Drive, adding a turn lane, which will help, and sidewalk. Okay. And then you have item C, is a public hearing to hear public comments concerning a request by the city of Cleveland to amend municipal code on chapter 14, or title 14, chapter 2, on the cryptocurrency items. Then we have the consent agenda. These are all items that you had previously voted on, rezoning 55 acres out on, from R1 to R2, located at, or, I'm sorry, 0.55 acres located on Clearwater Drive. Final passage of zoning ordinance 2239, rezoning 1 acre from IH to CH, located on APD 40. I believe that is the restaurant item up there. And then we have C, which is the zoning ordinance 2240, rezoning 80 acres more or less from RA, R1, and CH to PUD 40. This is a mixed-use neighborhood. Item D is ordinance 2241, amending PUD 41, which includes 54 acres to include 12 townhouse units as allowable use and to reduce the minimum lot sizes from 7,500 to 5,000. Council already voted on that once. Final passage, the sidewalk ordinance, and then F is a sidewalk ordinance as well. G is final passage 2244, cryptocurrency, items that we talked about last week, or last meeting. Item H 2294, in the budget, we approved $400,000 for the police department and the fire department for ARPA funds. So we're just putting that in the resolution form. It's not any new money, it's just for our record keeping items. Item I is resolution 2295, authorizing the mayor to sign a sub-recipient agreement with the Community Foundation for Cleveland and Bradley for use of CDBG CARE Act funds. This is $10,000 for a warming shelter use, when people have the need for warm shelters. We do that annually. Item J is Resolution 2296, authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with the Bradley Cleveland Public Library for use of the ARPA funds. That item was also in your budget. We've been working with them very closely on the roof at the library, and I think we are getting closer to have that done. I think Brian left. That they're working on that, and weren't able to use the ARPA funds because some of the regulatory stuff. But then we are going to use ARPA money on doing the painting of that facility. Once approved, they already have the bids, and they'll repaint that, and they should be able to be done in January for their remaining time. Should be in time for their 100th year celebration begins in January.
Centennial.
Centennial, that's the right word. Item K, Resolution K 2298, authorizing future purchase of cameras for Greenway through Master Intergovernmental Cooperative Plan. This is just setting up right now.
Thank God. Greenway, thank God.
That right now, Chris Miller is actually working with the company out on site, working on the cameras for our Greenway pilot program. What this allows us to use is that if we like what we see and it works, is then we can just go right into ordering and installation of those cameras. We're still waiting for information back from Cleveland Utilities on some of the voltage and some of the some of the lights, and so that's they're probably out there talking about that now, but I think that everything seems like we can work through. Item L, Resolution 22-100, authorizing the mayor to sign Amendment 1 with TDOT related to the intersection improvement project at 25th and McCoy Street. Let me take a moment with this item. As you recall, we talked about this before, and the mayor had the opportunity to speak with the TDOT commissioner. There's been different conversations. I think he even talked to him as soon as last week. And they had indicated at the Nashville level to fronting the monies that would be needed for the environmental and the design, which is about $494,000. They have another number that's $473, but we'll go with the higher number. And then when they get to the right of way, we would give them the remaining $1.5 million to use for the right of way. So we're giving them all the money needed for all their internal design so they can begin the project right now. And that's good. So we've had a concession that we can get the project, approve the agreement, and get someone, planners and designers, working on the project to get it done. We had an impromptu meeting last week with TDOT Region 2 on this item, and I think, in all honesty, that they're very excited about this project and want to expedite it. And they indicated that there's kind of a new, what's the Streamline? I wasn't able to be there. Robert and Jonathan were there.
They call it a Streamline project.
Streamlining their projects, and they said it's something new that's coming through, and they want to put this project in that, and that was good news. So they called a special meeting. They talked about how we can do that. They talked a little bit about they wanted to have the $2 million up front. For now, what we would recommend, until we get something in writing from them, is let's just get them started. Let's take the first step. You know, they've made some concessions. I think we've made some good progress. We're already giving them money that would pay for all the design and all the engineering. And then the mayor and Robert and Jonathan and our team need to
figure out when they need the remaining funds. So by approving this item when we get to that you're approving the agreement and that we will send in the neighborhood of $494,000 that would immediately allow them to start working on the project. And we'll keep you updated on the remaining things.
But Joe, we had talked about one time about the design, that basically they had the old design that we didn't do, and that's design that we're going with, right? More or less.
Yeah, I wasn't, the person that Jonathan, you guys met with, he indicated that they are already a long way thing, and they should be able to get through the design faster than what you would on a normal project.
That's correct. They have to take some things and meet today's standards. Basically, it's a multimodal transportation, which equates to maybe a larger sidewalk and maybe lengthening one of the turn lanes to make it meet today's standards. But so there is a tweak to the design, but they've got quite a bit of a head start.
Okay. So in other words,
They're taking that design and meeting today's standards.
okay, yeah, I understand.
But they also expressed in full transparency that the right-of-way is probably gonna be difficult to work through, and they wanna get through the design fast, as soon as possible, so that they can start on the right-of-way questions.
Their words were, it's a straightforward project, but it's very complex with the right-of-way.
So that's why we need to get them started now.
Yeah.
On item M, authorizing position list for Public Works. This is, we have our fleet director who is retiring in December, which is a loss for the city. Tommy's went through and worked on different options, and I think he landed on how to proceed, is that we have someone that is a qualified supervisor that will get elevated a little bit, that will be in charge of the operations out there. But then we're gonna hire a new position that we've created here, not filling the director position, so there's no new positions, it's just reallocating things. Is that the new position will be a fleet service manager. When you go to Don Ledford, someone's out there writing down what you have to do and writing it all up. Is that will be our approach, is, a police officer comes in, writes down, takes the keys, gets everything locked up. When it's, make sure it gets into the thing, then they call the police officer and says, hey, come in, pick your car up, because we have the flat tire fixed or whatever the issue is. And they'll be also responsible for, we have an awful lot of GPS systems that we manage, and also many of those things. So I think this would be a good customer service move of having someone that has those customer service skills on working with the frontline folks out there. Tommy guarantees me that will work.
Yeah, Tommy guaranteed you it'll work.
Then you have item N, which is authorization of staff to proceed with the disc golf course design at Fletcher Park. This is not approving a design or a disc golf course. This is just us putting together a design. I think there's some free consultants out there that have expressed interest. We'll bring back the design on what it could look for, and then the council at that time can make a decision if that's what you want to do. And then you have the approval of the Civitan Inclusive Park design and funding. Moving on to item 10A is the two items that we have the public hearings on Atkinson Road and on Montgomery Avenue. Then you have resolution 2299, authorizing the mayor to sign an engagement letter with Miller and Martin pertaining to the eminent domain proceeding. One thing we did add there, and you have a copy of it, which shows the exhibit on exactly what we're looking at is on that is we're looking at 108 square feet of actual property that's needed around that corner, and then there are also some temporary easements that we need for construction. And we did find out that there's been some communication with our attorney and this person's attorney, property owner, and we hope that that's fruitful and we can get to a conclusion before we actually move forward with any legal wrangling. So that's a very important update. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Fivas. Any questions for the city manager about the 3 o'clock agenda? All right, seeing none, that will take us directly to reports from council members. And we will begin with Councilman Webb. Councilman Webb, you're recognized.
Mayor, I have nothing.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Johnson.
Just want to thank Tommy for fixing our sign on our streets and make it safe for crossing on East Street. Appreciate that. Good job, well done. The other thing is I received 84 texts on it, and I'm sure everybody, I'm just wondering if everybody else did as well.
Oh, yeah.
But it's concerning cable services. We haven't even talked about that.
No, yeah.
Is he gonna help me? No? No, you don't know? Well, I'm just gonna bring it up. I've got 84 texts about it, and I just wondered if there will be some discussion if somebody calls.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any of those. When we get those communications, we're referring them to Cleveland Utilities. They have the best amount of information on that.
Vice Mayor, those are automated, computer-generated emails.
They're all the same.
There's a service that has been employed to send those to elected officials, but they are, in my opinion, misguided and misdirected, and a waste of good resources.
Yeah, they're talking about us spending a
Very
lot of
much
money.
so.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed that has been the chosen action to try and drum up unnecessary fear about something we've not even discussed.
Right.
Very, very poorly worded. I'm as frustrated as you are, and mine is more than 84.
Yeah, mine is too.
There's more of them coming, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilwoman McKenzie. Thank you, Madam. Councilman Estes. Sorry. Councilman. Wake up, Mayor. I'm looking down. I apologize. Councilman Cassada.
Yes, Mayor, just a couple things. Candy's Lane Greenway is, I guess it's almost, I like to thank the staff, city staff for, they're done, it's almost halfway done to the curve. So, again, a great addition to the city of Cleveland, and everybody wants to get out and walk. And I think that's all I had. I had something else, but I'm gonna pass until 3 o'clock.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman May.
I'll wait till 3 o'clock.
Yes, sir. And it's been mentioned, Tommy, a couple of times, but the ribbon cutting today and the work that your team did, getting that ready on Parker Street, just truly an amazing, positive addition to what I call the gateway off of APD 40 to the Pie Center and the Lee University new track and field area. Just a great, great addition to our city. And I know, as I recall, Jonathan or someone said it came in, as in other things, early and under budget. So I'm very, very grateful for the hard work that you guys did. Takes us to announcements, of which I can defer those until 3 o'clock. And if there's no other comments or questions from the council, we will be